Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Monday of court and cross stitch. And we continue to be looking at the Michigan versus Michael Jackson Blanos case. This is the case where, unfortunately, Mr. Michael Jackson, or fortunately, was only able to get charged or found guilty of or lying to the police. He was charged with assault, aggravated, uh, home robbery, and murder, but the state was only able to convince the jury that he had lied to the police. This is an older case, but it did come out during Karen Reed's trial, and I think didn't get a whole lot of, you know, maybe publicity because Karen Reed was bigger. Now, of course, as always, I continue to work on my Sailor Moon cross stitch. Eventually, it will look like, where did I put my? This is what happens when you're trying to be on top of stuff, but you don't remember where past me was going to be on top of things. Anywho, still working on that. So get your projects out, get your, coloring books and stuff out. This is how I used to watch trials before I was commentating. Uh, no, not a mom and her two daughters. I am a mom though. But this was a fairly big case uh, as far as Mr. Blanos was charged with the unaliving of Samantha Wolves, who was president of a downtown Detroit uh, synagogue, and this was right around the time that October 7th happened. So this was a really big case. I thought it was going to be much more political, but as we are seeing, the state is not going a long way to proving its case. And, it doesn't seem like they worked really hard or investigated a whole lot since there were a lot of things that have been missed, or maybe the defense was just able to blow holes into their case and got them beyond reasonable doubt as to, you know, Michael Jackson Blanos actually doing this particular crime. Now, I think they might still be able to get him for theft, car break-ins, and things like that. But there really were no significant links between Mr. Jackson and, unfortunately, Samantha Wall. Now, we did just get done having, I believe her boyfriend is still on the scene or on the stand. Um, Now, the boyfriend seemed to have a lot of, you know, kind of reasonable doubt in the fact that he sort of confessed while on a wicked gummy trip. He confessed to unaliving his ex. Now the state does have to overcome that, and they're trying to, but it this case is all the janky. So let's continue. I do have everything turned up, and I do have closed captions on. Hopefully, that'll stay right there. And by Wednesday, I should have a link to the stand that I use and a couple of other things that if you would like to maybe cross stitch with a table stand, I will say that this has probably been one of the most well constructed uh, so this trial, I will say they have not been doing sidebars or at least publishing them to this audience or to us when they go to larger sidebars. So we are not privy to what the both sides were arguing about as far as testimony or objections, in that pretty big sidebar, but, the ex-boyfriend is still on the stand, and we are just going to continue from there since this feed does not cover these sidebars.
0000535, People versus Michael Jackson Milano. Appearances, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ryan Elsey for the people.
Dominic DeGrazia on behalf of the people.
And Brian Brown on behalf of Mr. Jackson Bolanos.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm Commissioner Murphy, here with co-counsel on behalf of Mr. Jackson Bolanos, who's present to the rank.
And I know for Mr. Jackson Milano is present as our own counsel. There are 16 jurors who returned to the courtroom. Mr. Richard is placed on the stand. Counsel, you may continue.
All right, thank you.
Questions?
Yes.
AC's Wildflower, I will absolutely confess that before I got her, my projects would languish. I would not stick and focus on them. So actually having found court trials and then, being made to sit still relatively, has increased my, finishing of projects started, which is possibly the only blessing that, having a gimpy leg now really brought to my world. So I'm able to finish more projects. So Mr. Mo doesn't have to get mad at me for buying more projects before I've completed the other ones. He's just like, where are we supposed to hang up all of your Sailor Moon stuff? And I'm like, everywhere. Sprinkle it all over the house. Everyone loves Sailor Moon. No one will copy our interior design stuff.
I guess you withdraw your last question.
Yes, yes. So while you were in the Kalamazoo police station, called your mother, or you had a conversation with your mother, correct?
With my father.
Okay. You don't remember your mother answering the call?
Good morning.
The telephone was directed, the phone call was directed towards her?
I believe we tried to reach her, but my father picked up.
You don't remember telling your mother to contact that attorney that they have for you? You remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so you had a conversation with your mother, correct?
I don't remember who it was, but I remember asking them to contact my attorney.
Okay. And there was a question proposed to you, are they holding you, right? Remember that?
I don't recall.
You don't recall? Okay. If you were to hear this conversation, would it probably refresh your memory?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're going to have to just show him
It is nice, but I always plan about 12 projects ahead. So Puddletown, in true honesty, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this one to be done so I can have you guys help me pick my next project. But I do like seeing. So the one thing I will say for a cross stitch, especially if you get the stamped projects, it is nice seeing all of these discordant patterns kind of start to fill in as a real project. I go row by row. I know some people go color by color and finish that up, but I really like seeing how a project finally starts looking like what it's supposed to look like as you fill it in. Now, I've heard tell that there are even newer paint by color or paint by number kits that are out there that I may need to invest in. No, it will probably be Star Wars or Freddie Mercury. I'm not sure which one will get tagged for the Sarah Boone project. I feel like Star Wars would be a little too dark, but Freddie Mercury is awesome. So I don't know. I am trying to expand out of just Sailor Moon stuff, become a fully well-rounded person. Ooh, beautiful. I can't draw to save my life. You guys have seen my cart or my chalkboard drawings. That must be his parents. Yeah, having to count, that's why I like the stamped kind, because counting just seems like all and out beyond my skill and paying attention level.
There's a podium today. I think we will keep putting on the podium
Okay.
at night, and then it's just us for.
Now, if I could have you direct your attention to the screen behind you, do you recognize this individual?
Yeah.
Who is that? That's you? Okay. And would you agree that this would accurately depict the conversation you had while you were in Kalamazoo's police station on November the 8th, 2023? Okay.
So, as a public service announcement, not a doctor or anything, but if your mental health, he's not praying. So, Daniel, what this man is alleging is that he was being asked by his doctor to wean off of, or his psychiatrist, wean off of one antidepressant and onto another. Also, while deciding that he needed to maybe relax with a little bit of the devil's lettuce. So he is claiming that he falsely confessed to his ex girlfriend's attack and unaliving while dealing with a mental health episode, as well as the devil's lettuce made him do it. Having watched the footage of his sort of emotional breakdown, he definitely is not giving off a lot of the questions, a lot of the things that I was thinking would have been given off had he been the person that maybe mastermind this. Now he could be Kaiser so saying us, till the end of Unusual Suspect or The Usual Suspects, and he starts walking out, without a limp and everything, and turns into just evil Kevin Spacey. But he doesn't seem like a good enough actor, and he seems genuinely torn up about this. The problem that him inserting this false confession or this, devil's lettuce confession in is that not only does it give an entirely large dose of reasonable doubt to the defense, but it muddies up a fairly, it looked like, leaderless investigation into Samantha Wall's passing. There seemed to be no one in charge of that, and I think the state is really suffering that it looks like it was just a shoddy investigation from the start. Good morning, Mom of 10.
Sorry, let me-
And I will say that this case has not been plagued with many technical difficulties until now, when they're trying to get a specific part of his, confession in. This, oh, He fixed the extra camera, but I am looking at a better setup, and I think I've sort of figured it out. I just need to buy stuff. So I'm trying to be both intelligent and have Mr. Mo help me with pre-measurements of things and well, actual construction ideas before I buy things just this once. I'm going to try to be more functional and less like, oh, I can Google and or buy this without it maybe not working. All right. Well, I hate my own technical difficulties, and I'm not going to watch someone else have their own technical. There you go.
Hi, Mom.
I think so. I have to look at that.
I had a panic attack and ended up in the Kalamazoo police station.
Okay.
If you could please contact them.
Nothing like being 42, calling your mom to say, look, I had a panic attack and accidentally confessed to unaliving my ex. Could you please get that lawyer you have for when I do things that are maybe interesting like this? His mom is either completely used to this or she's in shock right now.
That attorney for me.
Okay. We'll call her right now. Are they holding you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll call the attorney. Are they keeping you overnight or what are they doing?
I don't know.
Do you need medical assistance right now?
She's like, who is the manager in charge right now?
Psychiatrist, yes.
Well, you need to tell them that.
I did.
And what did they say?
They haven't said anything.
Okay. Okay. All right, well, we have to wait till tomorrow morning before we can call the attorney.
Yeah. I understand.
What police station are you in Kalamazoo?
Kalamazoo Public Safety Headquarters.
Can you give me an idea where that is?
No, it's I don't know. I was driven here.
There's somebody there with you now?
Yes.
Now, I will say if you go back and look at the last day that we covered, his panic attack, his sort of dysregulated emotional state, for a non professional that I am, for a layperson that also deals with anxiety, because every person who's alive deals with anxiety, it's called being a human. But for those of us with maybe overwhelming, overactive imaginations that would like to, sit and theorize on, the latest catastrophe to happen to us, it did look like a genuine panic attack. Now, again, not life advice, but this trial. So, did I freeze? Or did the camera just, whatever it's doing right now? It is not a current trial. It is a trial that was going on during the Karen Reed trial. So it is contemporary, but it has already been adjudicated.
I'm going to object to this one. I think we went beyond any impeachment or refreshing recollection that we just went in.
So you would agree that you spoke to your mother?
Yes.
Okay. And you told
Okay,
her
let
to
me
call the police.
on that one second.
I'm sorry, attorney.
Yes.
Okay. You would agree that your mother never asked, what are you being arrested for, right? You'd agree to that, right?
Yes.
Your mother never asked, what are you being detained for? right?
Oh, yeah, I will definitely look at that one. Let me write that on my handy dandy notebook of ideas.
Your mother already knew, right? Because you had a conversation with your mother prior to you calling the police, correct?
No.
Oh, you didn't? You went over to Chicago the week before this particular day. Isn't that true?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And you saw your parents that weekend.
Yes.
Okay. And you stated earlier that the attorney you had was recommended by a friend of yours, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then you also say that after the date of October 22nd, you never retained her services. Didn't you say that?
That's correct.
Okay. So when you say the attorney you got for me, at this point in time, she, according to your direct testimony, she was
There
even
we
your
are.
attorney,
That's correct.
right? But you told them to get the attorney they had previously got for you or had got for you at this particular
Awesome.
time, right?
My guess is that they've had an attorney on lock for him, or they have a family attorney. Now, I am not sure if this attorney was covering him for, possibly offing his girlfriend, but I do believe they probably just had a family attorney. And mom was just like, okay, we'll call someone when we figure it out. I don't even think it had come out at this point when he's calling his mother that he had essentially confessed to unaliving his ex. What I will say that is good optically for this particular witness is that this courtroom is set up differently than most courtrooms. Oh, yes, I will definitely. Thank you so much for the idea, Dolly. You get to see that this is not a strong and imposing person. You get to see his relative, very passive, submissive body language, his full body, which I think might actually be a good thing for this particular witness because he doesn't optically appear as someone who is very upset about his ex not, wanting to get back together with him. It came out during his testimony that she wanted to give it another chance, and he just said that he was not emotionally able to give her what she needed. Now, whether or not he's telling the truth, he is able to very well match a meek and mild personality, sort of. So while it has worked against some of the witnesses being able to see their full body and seeing kind of how apathetic or maybe argumentative they are when their moral high horses, questioned, for him particularly, I think being exposed was good for his testimony because he is getting immunity only for his testimony here.
I don't believe
You don't believe?
that that's what I said.
Okay. So you didn't tell your mother or father the weekend before to get in contact with your attorney?
The weekend before, no.
You didn't? You knew exactly what you were being arrested for and detained, didn't you?
I knew what I had said, and I knew that it was. Yes, I knew that I had said some incriminating things. Yes.
Okay, and you knew what you were being arrested for and detained for, right?
Yes.
Okay. And as a matter of fact, an officer asked you, like, hey, do you know what you're being detained for? And you said, yes. Told him that, right? So it was no surprise to you on why you were being arrested, right?
Yes. I was having delusions and
Okay. You didn't have a delusion when the officer asked you, do you know why you're being detained? You didn't have a delusion there, did you?
no.
Okay,
You
no, you're
gave a
both
very lucid
irritating me
answer.
now. No, if he were having a delusion that he in fact unalived his girlfriend and confessed, he would not say that he was delusional, because you truly believe your delusions if you're delusional. You're both irritating me. Let's get to a point here. I love it when Mo gets irritated at her own trial because her ADHD is like, can we hurry this along? You're both being stupid.
Correct? You would agree?
I'm not sure when this happened.
Okay. If you saw it, maybe could have possibly. Are you saying it did not happen?
I don't recall.
You don't recall? Scroll to 3:07 in 20 seconds.
And to be fair
For the
to
record, I'm playing at 3:07.
the defense attorney, this defense attorney is all that Daryl Brooks wishes he was. He is aggressive. He is a zealous defender of his client's rights. But I will say he does come across as strident and argumentative, and not particularly. He comes off a little a-hole-ish. Now, like it or lump it, that's how some people tend to come across when they are forcefully questioning people. However, I think that this might have been a client or a witness that he should have given to the female attorney. I think that coming at this particular witness with any sort of aggression is just going to make him shut down, as you are seeing. So I think that, okay, well, he doesn't use my style. I believe in only matching the energy that I get, so I would not be as argumentative going forward with this person if I saw that he is a genuinely sympathetic character, because you do not want to look like a bully, against a witness. But he definitely doesn't know when to turn it on and turn it off. And he's kind of a bad judge of the room as for some of these more maybe sympathetic witnesses.
7 and 11 seconds.
Water, or you got water?
Yeah.
Do they snack, you use the bathroom, or anything like that? You know what's going on over there? You know what for? As long as you know, okay.
I'm sure you would agree that.
Dolly, you make a good point. I
Seem
think
pretty
this
lucid.
witness would be scared of
I'm sure you
anyone.
agree to that, right? You would agree with that?
I believe that I was having difficulty for several days afterwards.
Okay, you would agree that your answer was a lucid answer.
Yes.
Okay. You would agree that you didn't have any rapid breathing at this point in time, right?
That's correct.
You're not hyperventilating, correct?
No.
You're not crying or shaking, right? At this point, at this point in time, right?
He's like, you could see a
If you
tear,
want to
damn
look
you.
back, I was crying and shaking prior to this.
I'm asking, when this question was proposed to you, you did not cry when you answered the question, right?
Yes.
No, this is the ex-boyfriend. So for the long story, or too long didn't read, Samantha Wolves was dating this man for about a year, 2 years, and they were kind of on again, off again. He seems emotionally constipated. My words, not his. But they decided that in the long run, neither were going to fulfill the emotional roles that they needed to fill with each other. Now, about a week and a half after Samantha is found on her front lawn, dead from multiple stab wounds, he decides to go to Kalamazoo and have a mega panic attack while trying to switch between two very heavy mental health drugs. So, tapering off of one to increasing on another, and decided if that wasn't enough to put his entire body into crazy shenanigans, let's take a few puffs of the devil's lettuce, just to add some pizzazz to this. Now, after doing all of that and realize he's having a full-blown panic attack, he calls the Kalamazoo officers and says, "I think I killed my girlfriend." Now, as you can imagine, when someone hysterical, crying, snot bubbles calls, a police department and says, "Hey, I'm confessing to this unaliving," they take it seriously. So he was held by Kalamazoo officers for, I believe, several days as they went over and tried to link him in any way to Samantha's passing. Now, as far as we know right now, there was nothing to link him, or not enough to link him to arraign him or indict him. That's his story, and he's sticking to it. Now, he does have, the state did grant him immunity. We are still on the state's case. The state does have to get in front of this witness because he did technically confess, and show that it was part of an emotional crisis versus him, actually confessing. It is a very difficult thing to get out from. I think this is maybe the main reason that Mr. Michael Jackson Blanos, apart from the state having a very flimsy case, this, spontaneous confession by, so the person who got, let's see if they'll, the person who got charged with this is Michael Jackson Blanos. Michael Jackson Blanos was out near the area that Samantha Walls lived and was found dead eventually on her front lawn. He was, scouting out cars to future steal and breaking into cars around her general complex. Now, the only vague linkage that Michael Jackson Blanos has to the Stephanie Wall or Samantha Wall case is that, according to his claims, according to Michael Jackson B's claims, he got a little bit of her blood on both his backpack and his coat when he found her on the front lawn and attempted to see if she was alive, reached over her, and because she had multiple head facial and neck stabbings, he got some blood on her, realized that she was beyond help, and ski-daddled on out of there. Now, the state would like you to believe that Michael Jackson Blanos could violently attack Samantha, have a very, intense scuffle, stabbing. There was blood everywhere in her, main level of her apartment. Do all that, leave the area in about 2 minutes, because they did spot him about 2 minutes away from the scene, where they are during the time period that they are stating that this unaliving happened. Now, I think that since we know the outcome of the case, and he was only charged for lying to the police, that the jury did not feel like the state went beyond a reasonable doubt. I will tell you that we are a good bit through the state's case, and thus far a lead investigator has not been brought on to, explain, why did we test the blood here? Why did we test this? Who was in charge of securing the scene? It seemed like to the state's telling thus far that there were a bunch of people in charge. No one really knew what they were doing, and the investigation was FUBAR from the beginning. But that's kind of the too long didn't read on this one. They didn't have a very big suspect, or they didn't have a very good suspect in either of their two suspects as far as linking them to any concrete, physical evidence. So unfortunately, I think this will go down as an unsolved crime unless someone confesses, because the initial investigation was run by several different agencies. The FBI was involved because this happened right around October of last year when everything with Israel started popping off. It is possible. It is possible. But right now they don't have the physical evidence to link it. So I think that unfortunately, even if they got someone that confessed and beyond finding someone who actually confesses and is able to, produce evidence that will link him, I do not think that I I would not I do not think that this case will ever be tried successfully because of how badly this was tried and how badly the investigation was from the beginning, because this case plus his confession are too big, steps of reasonable doubt that any future, person who is indicted is going to have right there in their cubbyhole to say, hey, look, you guys thought it was this dude, and then you thought it was this dude. How do you land on me? So, unfortunately, these things need to be investigated thoroughly and well the first time. And I think we're getting to a lot of cases like Delphi, like Karen Reed, where you can't go back and make up or recover the ground that you've lost because of a terrible investigation years later.
Correct.
Yes.
You never said or implied that you didn't understand what his question was, right?
No.
You didn't imply that you didn't understand why you were being detained, right? Because you had an opportunity to think about what his question was before you even answered it, right?
Yes.
And you had an opportunity to think about why you were being detained before he even asked you about it. You were thinking about that, weren't you?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Prior to him even asking you, do you know why you're being detained? You were thinking about why you were sitting in a police station at that very time. You thought about it, didn't you?
So you're asking me, I had to predict that he was going to ask me that
No,
question?
I'm not asking that. I'm asking before he even walked into the room, you were sitting in your own mind thinking about how you landed into the police station. Correct?
So he was having that meme moment. He was having, I bet you're wondering how I got here. No, I'm sure that he probably figured out that, I don't know, confessing to unaliving his girlfriend was going to land him in the 5-0 for a little bit. But no, I don't think he was having a deep, thought out, mental dissertation as to why he was there. Both of you are annoying me. This is why I could not be a judge. I'd be like, could we maybe get to a relevant piece of information? Although I am putting, since I haven't seen this part, I'm putting an over-under on 5 for the lawyer just losing his ever-loving poo because this guy is being intentionally or unintentionally passive-aggressive AF and pretending he doesn't know what he's saying. Like, I don't understand the question. It is nice to see a theater Edgecombe throwback once in a while. Could you repeat that question?
I was trying to understand what had happened to me. When I was sitting in that room, I was trying to understand what had gone on to cause me this utterly abnormal behavior that I had never experienced before, had never experienced since, and I believe was caused by an adverse reaction to this medication.
Now, when you say adverse behavior that you've never experienced, are you talking about the actions that happened on October the 20th? Those actions? Is that what you were thinking about?
No.
Or you wasn't thinking about that at all? That didn't cross your mind at all? You weren't replaying in your mind anything about October the 20th leading into the 21st at all that time you were sitting in that police station. Is that what you're saying? You didn't think about it at all?
Again, if you listen to that tape, I have zero recollection of of anything that happened
So you say.
related to those events.
So you say. My question is, while you were sitting in that police station, were you thinking about what happened on October the 20th or 21st? Were you going through in your mind about anything about the 20th or the 21st?
No.
So that would be when Samantha was obviously unalived. The defense would
You were
like
thinking about losing
desperately
your
for this
job, though,
to be
weren't
the guiltiest.
No, I was trying to understand what.
You were thinking about losing your job, right?
No.
You weren't? Okay. I'd like to go to 4:38 and 19 seconds.
Now, what I will say again, as I say on every witness when they're being cross-examined by the opposing side, if you know you said something, agree to it. Your side will get a chance to, rehabilitate whatever statement they want you to say. It looks more disingenuous and more manufactured when you're like, when you want to be pedantic and argue about a word, instead of just letting, again, your state attorney or your side clean it up and redirect. I will never understand this need to have these conversations when you know that it should be explained to you. Yes, you'll have a chance to go back and we will let you further elaborate.
You heard yourself, right? You said you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. So you heard yourself say, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose everything, right?
Yes.
So you were sitting there thinking about losing your job, right?
Yes.
Because you knew why you were there. Correct? You knew why you was there.
Yes.
And you knew what the consequences of your actions would be, didn't you?
I knew that sitting in a police station after.
Sir, did you know what the consequences of your actions would be? Yes or no?
Which actions?
Or what led you to sit in that seat and make that comment about losing your job?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You thought about the actions that led you to sit in that seat.
Okay, this is terrible of me, but I want to see a blood pressure monitor for both the lawyer and this witness, because this witness seems to be okay in kind of mental fog land, but this lawyer is not having fun with this guy who's like, just admit you unalived her. Just admit it, sir. And he's like, no, I was kind of worried that I'd confessed to an unaliving that I don't remember doing, but okay. I mean, I would play, and the lawyer is asking it. The lawyer is pretending to be clever in where he is trying to cleverly insert the days of the unaliving versus why he thinks he's in the jail then. Obviously, you would be in jail if you confess to an unaliving, but to conflate that with when you conflate that with him confessing to the actual unaliving, it's very different. And the lawyer knows this. We know this. What would Sailor Moon do? Sailor Moon would tell both of them that she's going to punish them in the name of the moon and that this is not productive. But those are a little bit of more of Sailor Moe's ideas coming in, because this is getting us nowhere except to make the lawyer look like a bully and this man to look like just confused.
See on video and make a statement that you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose everything. You knew what those consequences were, right?
Again, I was having an adverse reaction to the medication, and I was having
Okay.
panic attacks. You can see there that I'm not, in your words, lucid.
You seem pretty lucid to me. For you to form a conclusion in your mind that you're going to lose your job. You formed that conclusion, didn't you?
I was panicking, sir.
You formed that conclusion that you're going to lose your job, correct? Right?
No,
That you could potentially lose your job. You said that, right?
Yes, I did say that.
And you know what you were being detained and arrested for, right?
I knew what I had said, yes.
You knew what you were being detained for, right? And arrested for, correct?
I knew what I had
Okay.
said.
This is also disingenuous. The state made, so this could make sense if the state was looking for a reason to get this guy, had put him as a person of interest, but said there's not enough linking him right now to the crime. Now, if any lead investigator had come forward and said, yes, this person is a person of interest, and then he suddenly comes forward with a, confession by Boone's Farm or whatever he's trying to blame this on, then you could have this. But they had in no way, subpoenaed his phone, subpoenaed his records at this point, looking for this man as a possible suspect. In fact, from what some detectives, or at least the state said in its opening statement, is that they had to investigate this confession, but they did not hold a lot of stock in it. Now, when someone confesses to someone, I would put stock in, or something apropos of nothing, then I would put stock in it. But the state is claiming that there was nothing evidentiary to link this ex-boyfriend to the crime. So this whole line of questioning is just to throw doubt in the jury's minds, and they did it quite well, but there's still better, less disingenuous ways of doing this.
And you knew that you made the connection in your mind that based upon what you said and done, it could lead, or possibly in your mind, not even possibly, but in your mind, you're going to lose your job based upon
Judge,
your actions.
I think this is the fifth time this has been asked and answered. We're just going around in circles here.
And also, defense, you have currently a client who,
Now, when did you begin
couldn't tell the
this
truth if it was
new medication?
next to him.
I believe I started it, so there's a period that I had to ramp down the previous medication, and I began to ramp up the Auvelity. I believe I took it for several days at the beginning of November, and had taken double the dosage on I began to double the dosage on the 6th.
Oh,
Six-
also, I know I looked this up before, but one of the So some of the side effects on this new medication that his doctor wanted him to go on, this man who's had, absolutely, bad side effects with all of these things, this can cause dizziness, headache, sleepiness, excessive sweating, and in combined with other things, Auvelity has been known to change how you perceive things. You can have adverse reactions. So not only was he ramping down, or as he says, ramping down instead of tapering off on one medication, but increasing one with pretty severe side effects. And, that's why they say if you start having any weird thoughts or, any sort of ideations of any kind, please call your doctor immediately and discontinue the use of this medicine. That's the class of medicine that he was both trying to wean off and ramp up at the same time. Not to mention that he was also deciding that we'll just throw some devil's lettuce into the mix. Don't do that, y'all. These are some pretty powerful medications, and if you're me, you're gonna get the weird side effects, so just don't.
6th of what month?
November.
November. Now, you spoke to police earlier on October the 22nd, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point in time, you weren't showing any emotions, were you? With the police, you weren't crying when you were talking about Samantha's death on October the 22nd, were you?
I did not cry during
Okay.
that
Okay.
interview.
Okay. You weren't showing any emotions, were you?
Judge, objection, this is a mischaracterization. And I don't think it wants us to open the door and have the video for 2 hours. I think we're getting close to that.
That'd be fine with me. You
Oh.
agree that your reaction to you thinking you would lose your job was a lot more emotional than you were when you spoke to detectives on October the 22nd, the day after or the day you say that you heard she died.
You weren't there at the funeral.
That's my question. My question was,
Yeah, I was emotional at the funeral.
okay, and you were emotional when you were thinking about losing your job, right? You would agree to that.
Yes.
And you would agree that the emotion level that you displayed about thinking about losing your job was much greater than the emotion you displayed when you spoke to detectives on October the 22nd.
Again, I was going in and out of having panic attacks on November 7th, and I was having difficulty with my thoughts and emotions
Okay,
at that time.
so that would be a yes. You displayed a lot more emotions about losing your job than you did when speaking about Samantha. That'd be a yes, right?
Good morning,
Speaking about
observation
Samantha.
station.
In the police station on October 22nd, yes.
Now, say that you had a history of depression.
That's correct.
Okay. And when Samantha broke up with you multiple times, I'm sure that didn't help your depression, right?
No, it was difficult.
It was difficult. It added to your depression, right?
Sure.
And
Yes.
you weren't happy that she added to your depression. You weren't happy, were you?
I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Were you happy that
No,
she
I
added
was-
to your depression?
Now, I will say
I
that
was
Samantha's
unhappy
family
that she broke up with me.
and friends have come out, and they were actually very wrote some very impassioned letters to the editor, stating that the I guess attack on this particular person's mental health was disgusting, and we should have stuck with the facts. But he also did confess to a crime, and until I saw this man speak, I was on the same page as this particular defense attorney. Okay, so she breaks up with a guy, doesn't want to get back together. He leaves his cell phone at his house. His security cameras aren't working, but he really has, other than I was home, bro, not much of an alibi. But unless, again, he is a greater hider of his simmering rage. I I don't see no. So this gentleman was the ex-boyfriend of the woman that was attacked in her home and ended up dying of multiple stab wounds on her front yard. Now, I did have a lot of questions before he got on the stand as to how the state police could overlook a person that has much more motive, much more opportunity and reason to go after Samantha in a what looks like a very personal attack because there were multiple stab wounds to the face and neck area, and there was quite a struggle in her house. Also, with the state contending that this was an attempted house break-in for valuables, all of Samantha's MacBooks and laptop and tablet and actual cash money were left in the home. So the crime never matched sort of what the state's theory was. If it's going to be a, burglary, then why would nothing be taken? But personality wise, I have been near controlling people, and I have never met someone who, if they have any sort of controlling behaviors, or even if they're trying to mask those controlling behaviors, would deal with this lawyer purposely trying to bait him, because what this lawyer is trying to do is trying to get him to act in a certain way on stand, either show some sort of aggravation that Samantha broke up with him, or give the jurors sort of any indication that this man can get angry. Can get angry. He's good at hiding it in public. For the most part, you wouldn't know that he's a controlling dill hole, but this lawyer is trying to get it out of him, and this is not going the way. Yeah, he just doesn't seem to be, because I mean, we've all seen cry bullies in relationships, the one that is always starting stuff but always is the victim in their own retelling of stories. He just doesn't match that profile for anyone who's been around relationships, uh, you know, even on TV. This doesn't seem the makeup of that person. I can generally spot those types of people. This looks like a person who's going to freeze up when confronted by anything, even, slight indications that he might be guilty. I've seen him freeze up, you know. So while it might have been a detriment to other witnesses to be shown full body, I think that this is backfiring spectacularly. I don't see him, unless he is like a better actress than Meryl Streep. I don't see him being, full bunny boiler, you will not ignore me, Dan, kind of person. Yeah, so that's basically how his confession went, is that I might have done something. I might have done something to her. I don't remember. I don't know how anything happened. It- So this is not a confession where he's like, "Yeah, I left my phone at my house. I turned off my security camera." He just doesn't seem to be operating on that level. But I'm not a great So his girlfriend, Samantha Walls, was the president, newly elected president of, I believe, the Detroit Ben as Israel synagogue. She had recently been voted in as the president, and this was right around the time that all of the Israel Hamas stuff started off. So there was actually FBI involvement beginning at the start of this case to make sure that this was not uh, anything to do with that. Now, I don't know if they ever found anything. They said that they didn't find anything linking this to a political or, hate crime sort of designation. But I think in their rush to make sure that this was not in any way a hate crime, they ignored really valuable evidence or didn't investigate this as well.
And you blamed her for the breakup, right? Because it wasn't your decision, right?
I blame myself for the breakup. I
But
believe
you try to convince her that you guys should be together after you broke up, right?
that's correct.
And when you try to convince her, in your mind, it was her decision and she was the reason why you broke up, right?
I think those are two separate things. I think it was her decision, but I believe that I was the reason that we broke up.
Did you change anything?
I tried.
You tried. What did you try to change?
I tried to call her more.
I tried to
She
do
wanted more,
keto.
physical touching, so I tried that. I brought her flowers. I apologized.
And she rejected all of that. Despite you doing all of those different actions, she still rejected you, didn't she?
I think reject is a strong word.
She didn't embrace you back into her arms and y'all lived happy ever after. That didn't happen, did it?
We did get back together, but ultimately
She broke up with you again, correct?
yes.
Despite you stepping out of, in your mind, your comfort zone, doing things that made you uncomfortable, she still rejected you.
And actually, Puddletown. So, interesting thing that the defense is not bringing up here is that I believe Samantha might have been feeling that biological clock ticking. So, I believe 6 months or so after they had broken up and, gone through the relation dateship, struggle dance a couple of times. Uh, they had finally broken it off, and she approached Benjamin back for, can we try this again? I think we could work together. That fear of being alone thing kind of hits you one night when you maybe had a little bit too many wine coolers and a little bit too much Dr. Quinn medicine woman. Yeah, so Wolfram is correct. Now, he says she broke up with him. Her best friend said that he broke up with her and she wanted to get back together. Now, as her best friend was catty in all the best ways, I'm guessing that, and best friend of the year here gave Samantha the tried and true advice to get over anyone, or yes, to get over anyone you had to get under someone else. Do not listen to that. Work on yourself. Do not jump into another relationship to make yourself feel good. This is Mama Mo talking, But yeah, we're getting a lot of different things happening. So this is just, all of this is pointless. It does seem like the defense attorney is much more upset on his behalf that the flowers were not a, grand gesture. But no, what she wanted was for you to be emotionally present and for you to want to have children. And sir, you don't want to have children. That's fine. But you guys shouldn't be together if you don't have those life
Yes.
goals.
Again, rejection, I believe is not the right word
Okay.
to use for
She
what happened.
she didn't take you back. Despite you doing all those different actions, she broke up with you again. Correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
I understood.
Okay.
I wrote a text to that effect saying that I understood.
Okay. You weren't happy with, though.
I was sad.
Okay.
Yeah, notice he went with sad, not angry.
Now,
Now,
did you and Samantha ride bikes together?
No, I believe we never got the chance to ride bikes together
You never got the chance. And how long were you together for?
for a year.
For a year. You're an avid bike rider, aren't you?
Yes,
that
And
explains a lot.
Samantha's a bike rider herself, right?
yes,
And sometimes she rides bikes to Belle Isle, right?
that's correct.
Sometimes she rides bikes to Belle Isle with other guys, right?
Yes,
Okay. And not you, right?
yes.
Okay. That didn't make you happy knowing that, did it?
Okay, well, unless he paid for her Huffy, I don't think that's really an issue. She rode a bike somewhere. Grasping at straws, thy name is defense. That's the problem, Justin Smith. I know that anyone can be pushed to a point where they will engage in behaviors that are antithetical to their general makeup. So, yes, even the most mild, meek, nearly Canadian person can be pushed to, an outburst. But again, I just don't seeing him Hulk out. It's possible, but
To my knowledge,
well, here's my thing. If he snapped, I see this man, uh, confessing, but confessing in full detail. I don't see this particular person being able to pull off, I did it, but I'm going to pretend to be so meek as to, be so meek and so unobjectionable that the state gives me immunity for my confession. It it just beggars belief at this point.
knowledge she rode her bike to Belle Isle Hall.
Okay. Okay. Is that the only guy you knew about?
Yes.
Now, Samantha wasn't a person who would share emojis with you, did she?
He killed her because he didn't send her emojis?
You don't recall? You recall that question being asked of you by the police, and you said no, right?
Okay.
And it was the truth when you said it, though, right? Because you were being honest, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know that her to share emojis with other guys, like hearts?
I knew that she shared hearts with her friend Laura.
Did you know about a guy named David Wilkinson?
No.
Did you know about a guy named Aaron Pergament?
No.
Okay. Did you know about a guy named Robert or Bob Becker?
No.
So you didn't know that she was intimate with these guys?
No.
Now, you would go over to Samantha's house from time to time, correct?
Yes.
Sir, don't feel bad. Mr. Mo would rather I never use emojis, so I put emojis in just to bother him. So maybe she thought you were too smart for emojis. Well, Puddletown, no. Again, this is the kind of, if you have to do character assassination, then you don't have a case. And honestly, neither the state or the defense in this case has a case, as we would normally state it. I mean, there really is no linking evidence to either of these two people to be linked. But it's okay. No, but they are genuinely going out of their way to make it seem like whoever unalived her, she did it to herself for being a loose woman. I mean, this is an attack that's as old as time. She, wore the wrong skirt. She said hi to too many people. She angered the wrong person by either giving them attention or not showing them enough attention. This is probably the easiest way to assassinate the victim's character, saying that obviously she did it to herself by her choices and, being a dating woman in, 2024. Now, again, yes, you shouldn't, date a whole bunch of different people and not let the other people know that you are not in the commitment phase of your relationships with any of them. But I'm married now. I'm old. I don't know what the hell you people do for dating. In fact, I stay married some days when I'm really irritated to Mr. Mo because I never want to have to date again. In fact, I have texted him like, I don't like you right now, but I'm never effing going back to dating. So you're stuck with us. That kind of thing. But this is the oldest. It's not clever, it's not unique. This is, her skirt was too short, could have probably, happened. And how can he be jealous of people he was unaware of? Defense, think that one through before you bring this argument to the table next time. And it seems like you've had a lot of women not appreciate what you've done for them, defense attorney. Find yourself a good woman too. You seem much more upset that Samantha didn't take Wiener Man back than he did himself.
Yes.
Okay. Now, isn't it true that, to your knowledge, Samantha never fell asleep on her couch? Isn't that true?
That's false. I fell asleep on the couch with her.
So you're saying that you never told the police that you never fell asleep on the couch with her? Is that what you're saying? Sir, just be honest.
The honest truth is that we fell asleep on the couch together.
Danny T, you are a braver woman than I am. He's going to find the one clip that's going to say, she didn't fall asleep on the couch when I knew her. Possibly because being interrogated after your significant other passes away violently, you don't remember everything in your life. I don't know. This entire thing is an S show, to be honest with you. I mean, the investigation was FUBAR. This, interrogation, or this other person is just FUBAR. Why this case was fast-tracked to go forward when they had nothing, I don't know. But that's the part that gets me really irritated, is that instead of telling the family we need to wait and do a thorough job, or to even do a thorough job, they just sort of picked, who they thought they could get for this. And the case was paper thin for both.
So you heard yourself, right?
Oh, we missed him saying that he never felt.
Sometimes, not while we were together.
So you heard yourself, right?
I interpreted that question as would she fall asleep by herself on the couch?
You never followed up with a statement saying that, hey, we fell asleep together on the couch. You never said that. Did you?
You're right.
And you understood the question,
It
right? You
definitely
understood
has
what she
shades of
meant when
that.
she said, did she ever fall asleep on the couch? You know what that means, right? Ever. With or without you. You would agree that's what it means, right?
You got me.
I'm not trying to get that. That's what I meant.
Okay. Hey, Wiener Man, I'm just saying, start being a little bit ballsier with this lawyer. I'm going to need you to find your base somewhere. And then, yeah, again, I get what this defense attorney is trying to do. He is trying to show that he is cherry picking things to now fit him not being the, attacker, the unaliver. But these are dumb, pedantic things. I probably wouldn't have been able or wouldn't have thought to tell them that, hey, Mr. Mo, sometimes he falls asleep on the couch, sometimes he doesn't. That wouldn't be top of mind to, steal Corinne Jean Pierre's favorite saying. That wouldn't have been top of mind if I'm here being, questioned as a witness or possible, witness to say, oh, she was unalived, or a family friend or a significant other. I can tell you that I would probably get a lot of very detailed things wrong if Mr. Mo died violently and I was trying to discuss our everyday life the day after that and give a full and complete picture of who Mr. Mo was. You do not think when you are under a lot of stress. So I get what the defense is trying to do, but it's also beating a dead horse. It's also, you are wasting valuable time. And what you're showing is that no, he doesn't choose his lawyer or his words like a lawyer does when interrogations. He just doesn't. This is, something that I think any regular person would get dinged on, which is why you don't talk to the police without a lawyer.
The truth was that in that case, I believe that they were referring to her sleeping by herself on the couch.
Okay, but you never clarified what was going through your mind and said, hey, she never fell asleep alone, but we fell asleep together. You never said that.
Well, you got him. He's guilty. Take him to the clink. This case was solved by lying about how they slept.
iOS?
EOS.
EOS? Okay. Is that equipped with GPS?
It has navigation, yes.
Navigation? Okay. Does it have any type of maybe emergency features, sort of like OnStar?
No, it doesn't have OnStar or anything.
Or something similar to OnStar,
Thank
where
you
can push a
for
button
lurking,
and speak to a live
Crystal.
operator
Hope you're
or
having a
emergency
wonderful
services?
Monday.
No.
Truth.
And as far as you know, was that GPS functional?
Yes, the navigation system works.
The navigation system works? Now, I guess you indicated that on Saturdays you try not to work or labor.
That's right.
Okay. But did you tell the police the Saturday?
Now, being Orthodox Jewish or a practicing Jewish person, you would have Sabbath on Friday, and then Saturday is considered a day of rest. And depending on how Orthodox you go, I mean, this means no electricity, no even pushing buttons. So now I think he did confess that he wasn't great at holding all of the strictures and laws and went grocery shopping instead of keeping, Saturday a day of rest. He actually worked on, I think, his actual work and then went out grocery shopping. But the attorney is going to make a point that he's not really a very good Jewish person.
Day of her death, you went to Easter Market, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Would you classify that as work?
No,
It's not work?
Guilty.
No shopping?
I meant work for pay.
Oh, okay. Labor. Wouldn't you classify labor as having to, the opposite of rest?
Well, that's
So-
one for Matlock. Wouldn't you classify labor as the opposite of rest? That is going in a timestamp so that I can make that its own little clip because yes. Now, we all know lawyers.
Probably since I was 8 years old. So maybe 11 years, just about.
How?
Years old?
Yeah.
The judge is like, you knew her from when you were a youngling? How strong is the force within you, Anakin?
I'm just, are you 19 years old?
Oh, no, wait a minute. Oh, my God. I'm like, wait. I'm actually not good at math. That's why I'm a law.
He's like, there's a reason I'm not an engineer. That's the face. So there you go. It's true. Lawyers are very good at knowing which laws you should not break religiously, but also being terrible at math. And this guy is not mathing the room well.
If you want to get into my theology,
No, I'm just asking you a certain question. I don't want to get into your theology. I'm just asking you a question.
I don't know. You were kind of accusing him of being a terrible Jewish person there.
I mean,
100% goes to his religious practices. And he should be followed.
and you also, after you left the Eastern Market, you stated that you then went to the credit union, right? Or attempted to go to the credit union.
I went home and then went to the credit union.
Okay, you went home to put the food up.
That's right.
Blasphemer.
Then you attempted to go to the credit union, right?
That's right.
And then you stated that you then went to yoga.
That's correct.
Okay, well, never mind. He's guilty.
You worked.
He's
out
guilty. He's guilty. Obviously, he both rides a bike for enjoyment. I'm sure he has an entire spandex outfit. Sir, I am looking at you. That is wrong. I don't care about what you do on Saturdays, but don't wear spandex outfits. And he went to yoga. Obviously, completely guilty. Why are we even having a trial? He did yoga on a Saturday? How dare he?
correct, at yoga. Would you agree to that?
Yes, I practiced yoga.
Okay, you practice yoga. Now, you also stated that you went to the synagogue that Saturday when you allegedly stated that you first heard that Samantha had died, correct? You went to the synagogue, correct?
Yes, later
Okay.
that afternoon, yes.
Who was there? Who did you see?
Shira Heisler, Zach Rosen, the Robinsons, Noam Kimmelman, Jen Rusciano. Those are some of the names that come to mind first.
Okay. Now the
You have a-
Friday that of the 20th, you stated that you were at home allegedly listening to a podcast.
After going to synagogue, yes.
Okay. And what device did you listen to this podcast
On my phone.
on? your phone? Okay.
On my
approximately what time did you
Nano.
listen to this podcast at?
Somewhere between 8 and 10, I believe.
8 and 10. Okay. So 2-hour podcast.
Roland Arthur, I would confess to nothing. Get your lawyer in.
And after the podcast went off, what, if anything, did you do?
I listened to a record.
A record?
Yeah.
Okay. And you can't remember
Oh,
what
wrong
record you
one.
listened to, right?
It was, I don't remember the specific record, but it was one by Jason Molina.
All the time. Today, I was
typically
going to wear my
turn off
Hobbit
your
outfit,
location?
and it's too cold.
When you're at home?
No.
You don't?
Yeah, Justin, yeah, he listened to a podcast. Well, it depends on which podcast. Was he listening to, oh gosh, is it the What If Anything, or no, it's Whatever podcast. Now, I can understand if he watched the Whatever podcast made him so mad at women in general, but my guess is he was watching how to shave 1/10 of a second off your cycling game or something like that. Or Star Wars Explained.
But so you typically don't do it, but sometimes have you ever turned up your location?
No.
Okay. Now let's go back to some of the statements that you made on your 911 call. You stated that you know you were in trouble. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And when you said that, you were referring to the death of Samantha, weren't you?
Yes, I convinced myself that I was involved with it.
Convinced yourself, okay. And like
Sir,
you stated earlier, you're a pragmatist, right? You think in a very analytical, methodical, meticulous way, correct? Okay.
yes, but he cannot
And would it be
combine
fair to say
those.
that you're not
He cannot combine those two things. So while he may be a very pragmatic and analytical person, thank you, Grandpa Page, for gifting 5 memberships. And those went to Tammy, Carrie B, Robin Lauber, Salty Dog, and Rosalind Dukes. So let me get those written up and put on the board. And thank you, Jedi Jess. I think you're probably watching Baker right now, but thank you for the pens. They are doing awesome and are so much better to use than the ones I got. So thank you very, very much for the package of pens that I received because these are amazing. And just while we're going back here, now, while he can have a very analytical mind, speaking as someone who generally likes to approach things pragmatically, just like this person here, you know, as as funny as it seems, I would probably be more closely related to this anxious, nevish person than my wonderful Mo self if I were ever in a witness stand, because I don't do well with confrontation. I tend to clam up. I don't do well with a lot of emotions. So for me, it is not a stretch that a highly practical, highly analytical person would have a breakdown when trying to get all of these feelings to line up. That is in fact my hardest part of feelings, is that they don't align in a neat puzzle. I don't, you can't just have one at a time. No, you have to feel happy, sad, angry, maybe angry. Like, that's the part where very analytical, very detail oriented people really have a problem expressing, confessing, or even reacting to very odd and volatile emotions because they do not follow logic. Y'all, we are fully on course to fill up the shadow box. If you guys don't know, if you're new here, I stole this from Baker, who stole it from someone else. So it's the circle of steel. But when anyone gifts a membership or, super chats, I try to put a tag up just to acknowledge it because, you guys don't have to support me. And I know that Baker and I definitely appreciate all of the support that you've given our channels. So it is nice to have a little bit of a shout out to you guys for supporting. So I, typed to Baker and was like, if I steal this but put my own spin on it, are you going to be upset? And Baker, being awesome as he generally is, was like, no, steal away. So let's get back to this.
you're not a person who's easily persuaded?
Sure.
Okay.
That's not what pragmatic means.
So when you say you convince yourself, that would take a lot of thinking about a situation in order to convince yourself that something happened. You'd agree to that, right?
Or it could be caused by a delusion that happened from the medication that I was taking.
You never mentioned this word at all to the police, delusion. You said you were having a panic attack. You never said this word delusion at all on the 911 phone call or while you were in Kalamazoo police station, right?
I believe
Again,
that at some point,
Matlock. If you are in the middle of a delusion, you will not be able to understand that you're delusional. I mean, I don't want to have to get John Hinckley Jr. out again after we just heard from him after, the attempt on the former president. But no, he seriously thought that going after Reagan was going to get Jodie Foster to pay attention to him. I mean, had you asked him 2 seconds before he tried to take Reagan out, he would have said, no, this will make Jodie Foster love me. And nothing you could have said would have broke him of his delusion. In fact, you cannot diagnose yourself with a delusion during the time in which you are delusional. Yes, that is in fact the case.
Point, I refer to myself as having a psychotic break. I'm not sure that I have the right language for what was going on with me.
So you agree that this word delusion was given to you to use in this particular setting?
Again, we agreed that I'm not that kind of doctor.
Okay.
And that an appropriate doctor has given me an appropriate language.
And your attorneys.
Good
And your
morning,
attorneys
Katie.
gave you that same word to use, correct?
No, my psychiatrist.
So you're saying your attorney never told you to use the word delusion while you're sitting in this chair? Be honest.
We discussed the language. But,
Okay.
Um,
Okay, it's not a question. Thank you.
Is anyone here in 2024 hoping that Jody at least text him once in a while? Like she put a little heart on his "Can't we all just be peaceful" post right after the whole, attempted unaliving of Trump happened. I mean, at least I hope that she liked his tweet. I mean, he's waited a long time for Jodie Foster to acknowledge him.
Now, the next statement you made was you felt that you were trying to outsmart people. You said that, didn't you?
I did say that, yes.
Okay. And prior to today, you were told to say what you allegedly meant by that. You were given a suggestion on how to answer that question, weren't you?
No.
That was never spoke about during your practice cross-examination or direct examination with your attorney?
No.
Okay. So every other aspect of that phone call was rehearsed except that very detail? Is that what you're saying?
A number of aspects were discussed, but I don't believe we discussed that aspect.
You don't believe? So your memory could be bad, right? Right? You could be mistaken, correct? Or just don't want to tell the truth.
This is, in fact, a real attorney. Now, the state is letting him get away with this. These little snide comments of "tell the truth" and things like that are things that I would not be letting him get away with unless optically I was looking at the jury and I could see that this jury was not embracing this sort of this line of questioning. This lawyer struggles greatly with being adversarial to just every witness and not really reading the room. Now, he is zealously, defending his client, but these sort of personal asides, this very bullying, domineering behavior, I believe, did not work with him for this particular witness. Now, this witness did the monumentally dumb thing of, again, confessing allegedly during a breakdown in his mental health to unaliving his girlfriend. And to the point that, he was like, I think I have, either blocked it out or, tried to outsmart myself in my head. Now, again, what this witness should do is just say, yes, I said everything I said on the 911 call because I was experiencing a mental breakdown. Now, he doesn't come off as rehearsed to me, this particular witness, but the aggression and needling and poking of this witness, I think is just reprehensible. I mean, this is again if Daryl Brooks had become an attorney. Now, this is cross. I mean, he is trying to again say his job is to defend his client who did not confess to anything. So it is acceptable to be a little bit more aggressive with this client or with this witness, but I don't think that it is. If anything, it is just, again, not showing that spark of anger that you want to either get out of this witness uh, or, the spark of a controlling behavior. Had this witness forcefully argued with whatever slight, the sort of like, don't lie, you knew what you had done, had the anger react or had the witness reacted with a sort of hint of anger, with, aggression to confront this, then I think continuing on this path of being much more aggressive would work because what you want the jury to see is someone who is very contained, very controlled, and does not like being questioned. Because then you can plant a seed of, he could be really good at acting like the good guy, but once you cross that line, he gets aggressive. That might be what they wanted the jury to see, but he does not achieve that. True. He's honey badgering the witness.
Correct?
Are you accusing me of not telling the truth?
I'm asking you a question. Is it possible?
No, it sounded like you were accusing me of not telling the truth.
Is it possible that you're mistaken, that you forgot that particular subject matter was discussed and rehearsed prior to you coming to testify today?
I don't believe we discussed that specifically.
So what you meant by that is you're trying to outsmart people is you knew you left your phone at home on the day of October the 21st or the 20th going to the 21st, correct?
I left my phone at home because I was at home.
Okay. When you made that statement, obviously you had some thought in your.
That is such an I am angry on behalf of all good attorneys. That was ham-fisted, that was inelegant, there wasn't even a setup like, so you stayed home all day. So you wanted to lay down a reason why your phone would have been at home all day, but we caught you on X and Y and Z camera. I know what he is trying to do. He is trying to be Matlock, but he is inelegant and ham-fisted at it.
What in your mind about you're trying to outsmart somebody, right? You didn't just make this statement without carefully analyzing and thinking about it before you said it, right? You meant something by it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you were speaking in reference to Samantha Moore's murder, correct?
Yes.
And at no point in time did you ever make a statement that contradicted it. You never talked to the police after that and made a statement that says, I meant this by it, did you?
I'm not sure I understand.
After November the 8th, you never made you never had another written statement that you signed by the police indicating what you meant by that particular statement, right?
No, if I were to have to, if I were to make an additional statement, that would have not been true.
If you would have made an additional statement other than what you said, it wouldn't have been the truth, right?
No, that's not what I said. If
Is that what you said?
any additional statement would have not been the truth. I told the truth.
Okay, but
an initial statement that I gave the police.
But you made another statement on 911, right? That's a statement. Came out of your mouth, right? It came out of your mouth, correct?
Again,
Sir, Did it come out of your mouth?
It did come out of.
Okay, so you would agree that it's a statement, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, all the points go to the attorney for figuring out what a statement is. It generally comes out of your mouth hole. Unless you're a politician or Disney, then
So,
it might come out of another
Is that the
end.
only time you've ever, in your mind, not told the truth? Is when you allegedly made this up about what happened to Samantha? That the only time you didn't tell the truth? In your life? Or recently?
What?
That's pretty good.
Okay.
Sir, what kind of redonkulous ass CW question is that? So have you ever lied in your life? Because if you've lied, even on your driver's license, Mo, I'm looking at you, then definitely unaliver. Again, had he even, this lawyer irks me because not only have we spent 2 hours with nothing but thinly veiled personal attacks, which, hey, I have a YouTube channel. That's basically all of my entire channel is thinly veiled personal attacks, but I'm not a lawyer. You know, I don't pretend to know how to do this stuff legally, but we have not gained anything. If anything, you have made this man look more sympathetic, more introverted, more weak, more pathetic than he looked prior to. He does not look Machiavellian. He looks, well, just Melvin.
I'll be more specific. Would you consider yourself an honest person?
Yes.
Okay. Do you always just make things up that didn't happen?
No.
Okay. So you're saying that this is the only time that you could remember that you made up something.
Okay. For those of you who watched the Karen Reed case, what he is trying to do is exactly what Lolly did, only it's interesting to see this coming from a defense. When Karen allegedly, in theory, possibly could have said, I did it. When unexpected, when terrible things happen, sometimes people that tend to overthink things, people that have just been thrown into this, will try to see how it's their fault. I mean, and you will hear crazy things. I think we had one person talk about how, when their father passed away from the pandemic, the mother was yelling loudly on the phone, I did this to him. I did this to him. I went out because I had to go to the doctor's office or something along those lines. I mean, you will hear things like this from people who, in fact, did not do this. Yeah, that's the thing, Crystal. I think those of us who are very introverted aren't confrontational and struggle within themselves to sort of articulate our feelings, to emotionally process feelings. This is not the witness you want to do this to. If you have anyone like that on the jury, then this is not the witness to do this to. Now, if the witness had come in full on dill hole, Michael Proctor, Trooper Proctor, then that is the kind of witness that you can kind of keep this snark for. But now you just look like you're kicking a puppy.
This is the only time that I was having an adverse reaction to a medication.
So did that medication make you visualize something in your mind that happened?
No, again, as I said on the tape, I couldn't remember anything related to the events.
Are you familiar with repressed memories?
I've heard the term. I'm not familiar. I wouldn't say I'm familiar with that.
Oh, hell no, lawyer. You are not. You are not bringing us back into the satanic panic. No, we are not cutting down. We are not closing down a bunch of child care facilities because a bunch of, therapists got together and implanted repressed memories from a bunch of kiddos. No, mainstream psychology has moved away from repressed memories in so much as they are actually indicative of something that concrete happened. So repressed memories are still a thing, but we are no longer going to round up entire preschool, you know, groups of employees. Then, yeah, seriously, Wolfram's got Mo. But yeah, no, repressed memories are not in vogue anymore in current psychology because they are so easy to be manipulated versus what you think probably happened versus having an actual, you know, accuracy of the truth. When your brain codes memories in a very specific process, in a very specific order, along with chemical sort of markers. And when you have a high stress or highly traumatic episode, your brain can actually not download, translate those into your, you know, memory banks. So it is more likely to have missing memories than repressed memories. But that's just the current psychological thinking that I've gleaned from looking some things up and kind of deep diving into the satanic panic wherein a bunch of, you know, preschoolers suddenly had repressed memories of like actual human sacrifice with real goats and everything. And it really has fallen into out of favor. And so, just in case the lawyer was wondering, repressed memories are not really in vogue anymore.
You've heard the term. That wasn't discussed before. You never discussed like possibly having a repressed memory, like your mind forgot about certain key details, or at least try to forget about certain details of a traumatic event. You never sought that out. You didn't try to get to the truth of the matter and say, okay, maybe I had maybe I had a repression of a traumatic event. You never tried to figure out if that was the case in this particular situation?
No, again, because the very unscientific ways of going about, you know, accessing a repressed memory can lead to suggestion of things that did not happen, depending on who you get as a counselor slash hypnotist, or, you know, what things you do to try to capture that memory again. Again, if it was written during a time of stress, it is already going to be incorrectly, you know, downloaded. Grandpa Page, you are in fact an enigma within a mystery within a, well, flatbread roll up.
As far as I know,
As far as you know that.
no. I never tried to look into whether it was a repressed memory. No.
Oh, it was just more convenient for you, of course, to take it's a delusion road versus trying to get down to the truth of the matter to see, in fact, was this a repressed memory of an act that actually happened?
Judge, I'm going to object to this on multiple bases. Number one, it's argumentative. Number two, I don't think there's any scientific basis for this concept of repressed memories that's offered on the record by an expert that we can find on this issue.
Welcome. Yeah, he would not. So, Medita, this is so the 5-minute elevator pitch of this particular case is that you have Samantha Wall, who was a president of a local downtown Detroit synagogue. She was found, I believe October the 21st or 22nd, on her front yard, having passed away from multiple stab wounds to her face and neck and upper chest area. Now, the person that the state of Michigan would like you to believe did this is Michael Jackson Blanos, and he was picked up on camera and seen breaking into cars around her complex. This is her ex-boyfriend. Now, the state has to contend with the fact that her ex-boyfriend, according to himself, when he was tapering off of one mental health medication onto another mental health medication and decided to smoke the devil's lettuce, confessed while in a delusional state, according to him and his therapist or his psychiatrist, that he possibly unalived Samantha, that he was the one that did it, that he might, since he didn't remember anything during his state of delusion, but was very worried that he might have caused the death of Samantha. He worried that he had outsmarted everyone, basically, including himself. So he was kept in Kalamazoo police station after this confession for several days while they tried to find anything that would link him to this case. Because right at this, as this case happened, you had all of the Israel and Hamas thing starting off and being very, very divisive. Now, the FBI early on into the case said that there was nothing related to the Israel Hamas stuff that prompted this attack on Samantha. But it also really didn't do a good job of linking Michael Jackson Blanos to Samantha beyond several very small pieces of blood evidence that, you know, when looking at them objectively, could have come about the way he stated, which is he was trying to leave the area where he was stealing and casing cars for potential stealing later. Saw a woman out on her front yard, you know, wanted to check to make sure she was okay or not drunk, reached over, checked for her pulse, realized that she was beyond help. And since he was already doing felonious things that night, he ran away. Now, the state doesn't have anything beyond the fact that Michael was there, and he does have some traces of blood evidence on his backpack and coat to link him to this, because it's a very hard stretch to think that someone's going to go from breaking into empty cars in, you know, empty parking lots to forcing his way inside a home and violently attacking someone, but then taking none of the valuables that were present and in the open in this apartment, along with the fact that an aggressive knife attack to the face, upper neck, shoulder, head area seems like a very personal attack. So until this particular gentleman came on the witness stand, I was blaming everything on the ex-boyfriend. I was like, none of this makes sense. Who calls and, you know, fake confesses? But this does look like it was part of a break in his mental health. Now, listen to Mama Mo, kiddos. If you are working with some heavy psychotropic, you know, well, not psychiatric medication, and you are having to taper off one and then ramp up on another, this may not be the time to add devil's lettuce into the mix. I'm just telling you for a friend, you might confess to something you don't remember and never did. So just Mama Mo stuff. Oh gosh, suspiciously quiet is never good. So we are currently with the ex-boyfriend being cross-examined by the defense attorney. Are you trying to find a clip that's going to match something? Oh, I think the judges. So we can't hear the sidebars even if the jury and audience is sent out, which is upsetting because I think we miss a lot as far as
you stated that you undertook craniomagnetic stimulation?
That's correct.
Do you know of whether or not that has any effect on your memory as far as a side effect potentially?
I can actually speak to this. So I have a consultation lined up for both transcranial magnetic and then transcranial electric stimulation. Both are said to be fairly effective for not medication relieved depression. So if you've it's something that my psychiatrist recommended I look and see if I was a candidate for. Now, the transmagnetic uh, treatments have not been shown to seriously affect your medicine or your memory. They're a less invasive form of the transcranial stimulation, but you have to do, I believe, 30 to 40 sessions to have a noticeable effect. There is another methodology, and is called transcranial electrical stimulation, in which they basically do what they were doing in the olden days. So they, shock you until you have a micro seizure in your brain, and that has been shown to sometimes reset the chemical balance in your brain. Now, that one you are lucidly sedated. So kind of think, colonoscopy fun time. That one does have the potential to cause some short-term memory issues. And short-term, like you might not remember that you've already had your appointment. They don't let you drive home. So yeah, pretty much like in Return to Oz, only it's supposed to be a little bit safer, but it's also supposed to be a lot more effective in only 12 to 11 sessions. So if you don't want to spend, the next 3 months of your life being hooked up to a magnet and maybe think this could work, you can opt, if you're a good candidate, to try the other more invasive. But as far as I am aware, having done my own research, the transmagnetic cranial stimulation does not cause any loss of memory, or they wouldn't repress your memories. You are not going to unalive someone, go get a magnet put on your head and not remember, which is what this attorney would like you to believe. But no, the use of magnets will not make you forget a crime.
Were any of the side effects discussed with you?
Yes.
Okay. And you just don't remember if that was one of them, correct?
And he also wouldn't be the person you're asking about this. You would ask a medically trained person or psychiatrist or neurologist who uses these.
Call that no one was arrested for the death of Samantha Wall at that particular time, to your understanding, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Were you keeping up with the case?
Yes.
Okay. And how were you keeping up with the case?
Through the news.
Through the news? You also made a statement on the 911 call, "What have I done?" Remember that? And prior to you making that statement, you replayed October 20th to the 21st before making that statement, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was trying to turn it up for you guys. He's just not.
Now, this knife that was in your car, you indicated that this was a seatbelt cutter?
Yes, it had a slot that had for cutting seatbelts, yes.
Okay. And that's one of the reasons why you had it. So you say, correct?
Yes, and it also had an end to break glass, yes.
Okay, now what the defense attorney is not telling you is that they tested every sharp implement uh, for both Michael Jackson Blanos, who is the real defendant, and they tested that seatbelt cutter thing. Now, had that had any of Samantha's DNA on it, yes, this guy would be, in an orange jumpsuit. But considering it was one of those 3-in-1 safety tools that, I'm trying to get my daughters to carry around in their cars, you cannot use this as a serial unaliving weapon. This is not what that was. But, points for you, defense attorney, for trying to make a seatbelt cutter thing a lethal weapon.
Yes.
And approximately how long did you have this knife for?
Years. I believe I look back and I have a receipt for 2015 for the knife.
Okay. Now, were you provided any additional cell phone as part of your employment with Stryker?
No.
Okay. Did you have any Google Voice or anything? An alternate number?
I do have a Google Voice number, yes.
Okay. Did you let the authorities know about that Google Voice number?
No.
What? Because he's going to buy the knife
And why do
with
you
Google
use this
Voice?
Because it transcribes messages for me and sends them to my email.
Okay.
So if somebody leaves a voice message, I get an email about it.
Okay, so you receive phone calls on this Google Voice.
I receive phone calls through my phone, and it worked to transcribe those phone calls and send them to my email.
In Google Voice, you can also use it to send text messages, correct?
If that's the case, I've never done that.
After the death of Samantha, you had a bonfire at your house, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the theme was Kumbaya.
I don't think there was a theme.
Was the thing? You didn't call it Kumbaya?
No.
Okay, wait. Who has a death remembrance bonfire and puts a theme to it? It's not like a, Memorial Day tiki torch or tiki event. It's not a Labor Day like barbecue and football thing. Although now, if I pass away, you guys are free to have a bonfire kumbaya event if you'd like. Be safe, have fun, and just make Monday yours, and it's almost over. It will be over soon.
And where was this bonfire at in relation to? Was it in the backyard?
Yes.
Do you have a fire pit?
Yes.
Okay. Is this a store-bought fire pit, or did you make it out of rocks?
It's a store-bought fire.
Store-bought fire pit. Do you always keep this fire pit outside when it's not in use?
Yes.
No, he puts it in his living room when he doesn't have a fire in it because it makes a lovely speaking point. Where is he going to put it, lawyer? No, I put the fire pit in my bedroom because sometimes I like the smell of, wood smoke inside. Think before you write down the question, sir.
Now, you invited some other people, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that before your guest arrived, you already had the fire started?
No.
Did
you start the fire yourself?
I'm not allowed to play with mattress.
A friend, Jenya Guzman, started the fire while I was still preparing. Her last name is Gazman. Her first name EVG ENIYA, I believe.
In relation to I might be mispronouncing it, Avalde? Is that the name of the prescription?
Avalde.
Avalde. Okay. You stated that you didn't have any side effects initially, correct?
That's correct.
So you went from having no side effects to what you described as something that clouded your memory of what happened.
All right. This lawyer is pissing me off. So we'll go full screen on me so I can explain to the lawyer what apparently is escaping his notice. All right. Okay, lawyer. This purple is going to be the medicine that he is tapering off. And this is the medication he is starting. Now, in theory, they should both intersect at this therapeutic dose. Therefore, he should not have a lot of issues. But what sounds like happened is that brain started freaking out about here, where current medicine that wasn't really doing anything to help was going down. And as this, this new medicine was coming up, it could increase. This part here is when you're supposed to tell your psychiatrist if you're having issues, because this is the most dangerous time. As you're tapering off from a heavy-duty SSRI and going up on another one that's supposed to involve different paths to increase your serotonin, but it's all supposed to work with different neurotransmitters, which I call BS. I still think that it's, a bit like, I hate Tom Cruise being right about anything, but some of these medicines don't seem to have anything other than side effects. Also, if you guys if you know a teacher in your life, so Hagoromoto chalk is this is a game changer. I'm going to use my whiteboard all the time, and I don't have to use chalk pens. These chalk, this particular company of chalk, great. We'll just keep the chalkboard of truth up in case he continues to say dumb things that bother my soul or my snark, whichever really works, really. Y'all know I can only deal with stupid for so long before it bothers me on a level that is personal nearly. And yes, it's quite common for, as you are titrating to a therapeutic dose and also decreasing from what was a therapeutic dose of another medication, for there to be all sorts of effed up symptoms. That's why they say, call us if you notice, severe mood changes, things like that, because it has been known to happen.
I believe that's not how I described the side effects at all, no.
Okay. But you did testify on direct that allegedly you did not commit the murder and you convinced yourself, correct? That's what you stated, right?
That's right.
Okay. And you stated the reason why you felt you convinced yourself was because of the side effect from this prescription, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So just to be clear, you went from having no side effects to this medication the side effect convincing yourself of doing a murder.
Yes. So
Okay.
Now,
Okay, thank you.
previous day,
as far as the state says, yes. I will tell you that before this gentleman took the witness stand, he seemed to be the only logical choice for me. Yes, I am not a doctorologist. I only say this knowing that, that sometimes these are dangerous things. These have been relayed to me by my doctor, when you are titrating up and also weaning yourself down from certain mental health medications. These are very dangerous times for your brain chemistry. Now, I know I've never got the weightless side effect. I have the only syndrome in the world that is supposed to make you stop growing leg hair. And what have I not been able to get away from? Shaving my daggone legs. I would like to lodge a complaint with Star Command. I really would. But yes, thank you, Timothy, for reminding everyone. Yes, I am not a doctorologist. Do not come to me for medical advice. I have not even practiced in Guam.
Thank you.
Okay.
And prior to the police coming, you told them that in fact you took all of your. This is on November the 8th, just to be clear. In Kalamazoo, you were staying at the 4 Points Sheraton, correct?
Yes,
And prior to the police coming, you took all of your stuff out of the hotel, correct?
that's correct.
Because you knew you were about to go to jail, correct?
I knew that I
You knew you were about to go to jail, correct?
Just say yes, sir. Holy God, let state fix
thought that I
it.
would go to the hospital.
You thought you would go to the hospital.
Yes.
Okay. You were cognitive enough to have the state of mind prior to calling 911 to go into the hotel room and remove all of your items, correct?
I was already in the hotel room.
Okay. You had the state of mind, presence of mind, prior to calling 911 to remove all of your items from the hotel, correct?
Yes,
And not only remove the items from the hotel, to take them to your automobile, correct?
that's correct.
Your panic attack didn't prohibit you from having that state of mind to remove your items from the hotel.
That's
Correct.
correct.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now, I want you guys to imagine, if you will, had the lawyer stayed on really practical and, good points like this. Hey, you were in the middle of this, panic attack delusional state, but you had the forethought and wherewithal to get all of your stuff into the car. That would have been a good point that I think he should have exploited. But instead, we spent a lot of time doing kind of personal attacks and randomness. Had he tightened this up and really gone with, okay, you claim you are in a delusional state, and then, but you are able to think logically and do this, this, and this while you are also claiming that. Would you like to explain how you did that, or just say yes or no? Now the state can come back and of course he can expound upon, yes, I'm a deeply practical person that even within the depths of thinking I might possibly have unalived my girlfriend, it is still, intrinsic to me to just be practical. Imagine if we just had a short, very tight, very logical question and answer session, like it was a real trial.
Okay.
So we'll come back at 1:30, we've got several matters. So, see you at 1:30.
All right. So we're now to
Dominic DeGrazia on behalf of the people.
And Brian Brown on behalf of Mr. Jackson Bolanos.
Good afternoon, Judge Curtis. During on behalf of Mr. Jackson Bolanos, speakers from that ladies.
Can I know for the record, Mr. Jackson Blunt is present
they have not gotten into whether he has a history of prior mental health, either involuntary or voluntary inpatient stays, but it could just have been a very practical and logical next step to him.
counsel in 15 records and insurance. Juror number one was not feeling well, and I told us yesterday she was feeling well, but today, I guess she was feeling worse and wanted to get to her care, and so she has been excused from the jury. So now we only have 3 alternates, so I'm supposed to try to stay healthy, and so we can get through the trial without losing all our alternates. Juror number 9, if you want to sit down in juror 1 seat, or we can wipe it down, so you don't never see it bad. And then,
And it seems like they lost.
there's some lights right there, which has-
So I guess they had stopped early yesterday because one of the jurors said that they were sick. That was what one of the sidebars was about. And it looks like they're down to 3 alternates because that lawyer or that juror had to be excused for still feeling not great.
Now, you indicated during direct that you typically use your car when you go to the grocery store, correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Sometimes you do ride a bike to the grocery store?
I don't believe I've ever ridden my bike to the grocery store.
Okay. So in an atypical situation, how would you get to the grocery store if you were not in your car?
I would walk to the grocery store.
You would walk to the grocery store? Okay. You do a lot of walking?
Yes.
Okay. So approximately how far is the grocery store from your house?
It depends on which grocery store you're talking about. Honeybee is, I'd say maybe 2 miles from my house, but I would probably go to, there's a Mexican grocery store that's less than 2 blocks away from my house that I would walk to.
Okay. Have you ever walked to Samantha's house?
No,
You never walked?
no,
Okay. Have you ever rode your bike to Samantha's house?
no,
Do you own a bike?
yes,
Okay. And that bike is fully functional?
yes.
No, it doesn't have wheels.
Now, these
My
Arlo
mental bike.
cameras, you stated you had 2 cameras, correct?
Yes, there was a camera that was mounted up above the front door, and there was a camera that was mounted above the rear door.
Okay. And you're saying was as a past tense?
Yes, they were taken down.
Okay.
Yes, welcome
How were they
to
taken down?
grammar.
I don't know.
And where were they placed when they were taken down?
So the police searched my house, and after the police searched my house, those cameras were no longer mounted.
Okay. So prior to the police searching your house, the cameras were mounted?
Yes,
Okay. And you indicated that the batteries ran out of the cameras?
yes. You have to charge them regularly, and I just stopped charging them.
Okay. When is the last time that you charged the batteries?
I'm not certain. I looked in my email, and I got an email warning me that the battery was low on August 2022.
Hey, dude, why did you buy a
Have you
camera
changed the
then?
battery since then?
No.
Okay. And you stated that one of the purposes of you installing those cameras is to monitor your front porch, correct?
Yes, that was the purpose. Yes.
Okay. Now, when you remember being in the Detroit Detention Center, the DDC, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you were taken to the DDC, which is in Detroit, after being transported from Kalamazoo's police station, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And while at the Detroit Detention Center, you made some phone calls to your parents, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And would it be a fair statement that while you was at the DDC, your parents never asked you why you were being held or detained, correct?
I don't recall.
You don't recall? Okay. You never told them why you were being detained? You would agree to that though, right?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Okay. You were also under the understanding that your friend Marvin was talking to a judge that they knew while you were incarcerated to try to help you out. You knew about that, didn't
I'm not familiar with the Marvin.
You're not familiar with Marvin's friend, the judge? You don't know who Marvin is?
I don't know who Marvin is.
So you never had a conversation about
His
Marvin
real name was
and
Melvin.
their friend, the judge, helping you out?
I don't know a Marvin.
He's like, I'm gonna get him with this Marvin question, and he's like, I don't know Marvin.
You may be referring to a Martin.
Oh,
No,
Martin,
don't
okay.
help
I'm
him.
sorry, Martin. So you were under the understanding that Martin's friend.
Sir, this man is this lawyer that you're up against doesn't like you and is in fact trying to throw you under the bus. We do not help our enemies when they're calling a witness Marvin, whose real name is Martin. We don't. Stop being so nice. Damn. I would continue to say, I don't know any Marvins. I don't know not a one Marvin, so you must got the wrong guy. But then again, I would have been irritated at this point by this lawyer not asking any questions that are relevant to the case, really, or being so ham-fisted in his, strategery that it's almost to the point of an acolyte writer. So I would continue with not knowing Marvin.
Was a judge, and they were trying to help you out behind the scenes on this case, correct?
They may have said something to that effect, yes.
You also told your parents to contact your job, right?
Yes.
The job that you were scared about losing, correct?
Yes.
And you told your parents to tell your job that you had a nervous breakdown and you needed some time off, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this is while you were incarcerated, correct? At the DDC.
Because I told my parents to tell my job that I was having a nervous breakdown.
No, to be clear. You were incarcerated at the Detroit Detention Center when you told your parents to contact your job and tell them that you had a nervous breakdown, correct?
Yes, I believe that's true.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
But it wasn't
lie.
true that in fact you had a nervous breakdown and you needed time off. You were incarcerated, correct?
I believe both can be true. I believe that I had an adverse reaction to a.
Wait a minute. A lawyer is having an issue with someone not accurate or shading the truth. Okay. I think your moral high horse defense attorney is a mini pony, and you might want to, back off that line of questioning.
Have a nervous breakdown.
So to you, a nervous breakdown and a panic attack, they're synonymous? They mean the same?
Again, I'm not that kind of doctor. I don't know the specific language to use in that situation.
But
it seems reasonable to call it a nervous breakdown.
But you said that though. You just said this right now that the two could be the same as far as you being incarcerated and having a nervous breakdown. So do you feel that way? That they're the same? Based upon what you told your parents?
They're the same?
You said they both could be true. I'm sorry. They both could be true. Do you believe that was an honest statement?
I believe that they both can be true.
Okay. That was the only time you've ever mentioned having a nervous breakdown through this whole ordeal is when you told your parents to contact your job and tell them you had a nervous breakdown. Isn't that true?
I believe I mentioned I was having a panic attack. I mentioned I had a panic attack multiple times. To me, those are synonymous. Maybe you haven't consider them different.
Okay, so now you said, because I just asked you whether or not you felt that a panic attack and a nervous breakdown were synonymous. And you indicated you're not that type of doctor. You just said that, right?
Yes, which is why he is.
So now you're saying in your mind
Y'all, I'm gonna need to take some medicine. Both of these men are annoying the ever living hell out of me. Look, he is not a doctor. Okay, lawyer guy. He is going to use inartful terms of art because he is not a psychiatrist. So, yes, for him, a panic attack and a nervous breakdown are the same thing because that is what his internal vocabulary has decided. What in the reject of Perry Mason are we listening to here?
That a panic attack and a nervous breakdown are synonymous?
Yes.
Now, during your conversation with the police, you never indicated that you felt you were having a nervous breakdown. Isn't that true?
I believe I mentioned that I was having a panic attack several times.
That's not my question, sir. Sir, I'm sorry. I may be a little bit confusing. My question is, you never told the police that you felt you were having a nervous breakdown. That's true, isn't it?
I never used those specific words.
And when you told your parents, you never instructed your parents to contact your job and tell them, I'm having a panic attack and I need days off. Isn't that true?
That's correct. I did not use those specific words.
Okay.
I'm trying to end our
Now,
suffering quicker.
you never told your parents to tell your job that you were incarcerated, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay. And you also did not tell your parents to tell your job that you needed days off because you were incarcerated because you admitted to murder. Isn't that true?
That is true.
Now, did you ever have a key to Samantha's place?
No,
Okay. But you knew she had a spare key, correct?
that's correct. And I told the police that.
And you knew where that spare key was located, didn't you?
Yes, I told the police that information.
Now, did you know that she had an alarm system?
You know, she never used the alarm system. It didn't even register to me that she had it. I can't recall whether I said yes or no to that question.
Isn't it true that you told the police?
Not to mention, it has come out, but through other witnesses, that Samantha was somewhat lax in her keeping her door unlocked, even in downtown Detroit, which brass boobs, my ma'am, brass boobs. But you would not see me leaving my apartment in downtown Detroit unlocked for any reason. But she also did, for the spare key, she had one of those realtor boxes, if you're showing your house or going to a house showing and the, realtor has to do the little like pin code thing and then get an extra key out. That is how she, secured her extra key. So these are dumb questions, but also, because I'm going to call my employer if I had the choice between, look, I may have or may not have confessed to unaliving, or I'm just having some bad mental health days. I think even honest Mo is going to come up with bad mental health day rather than I was in the clink.
Police that, to your understanding, she did not have an alarm system.
Yes.
Now, how many times have you ever spent the night or visited? How many times have you ever visited Samantha's house?
Over 10.
Over 10? Okay. So when she opened the door, you never heard an audible sound, front door open?
It was never armed.
That's not, I didn't ask if it was armed. Have you ever,
No, you wouldn't have heard the
entering the
sound
house,
if it wasn't
ever heard an
armed.
audible chime saying front door open?
Not to my recollection.
Have you ever entered through the back door?
Yes.
Have you ever came over late at night?
Yes.
Have you ever came to the back door late at night?
Only with Samantha.
Have you ever came over her house to visit with Samantha and came to the back door at night?
No.
No, because I'm not a sociopath.
Do you own a North Face jacket?
Yes.
Okay, and what color is it?
Black.
Black.
Well, he's guilty then.
Now, of course, you understand what use immunity is, correct? That basically the prosecutor cannot use whatever you say while you're on the stand against you in any subsequent, if ever, subsequent proceedings, correct?
Yes.
And you weren't going to testify without that, right? Without that immunity being in place, correct?
I'm not a lawyer. I am following the advice of my counsel.
Ooh. Okay, see, keep this eye contact, sir. Don't look at the ground. Find your baubles and tell this man I'm listening to my attorney, just like your client, I'm sure, will listen to you when he gets on stand and attempts to lie. Yeah, I will say, Wolfram, this lawyer has been very good at parsing out BS and calling the state investigators and the state forensics, into question. What I don't like is he and his fellow attorney have definitely leaned into the victim was a skank, which is, an interesting defense, but also being argumentative to just random witnesses. I can understand coming with this energy towards the state, towards, professional state witnesses, to civilians. He really does not have an off switch with his attitude.
Are you a runner? As a hobby.
I used to run, and since Samantha's death, I've taken up running again.
Taking up running again? Okay.
Well, good for you, sir. Do something that makes you feel better.
Prior to her death, you were an avid walker. You would agree to that, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you continue to walk, correct?
Yes.
So as of now, you are an avid walker and a runner. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
As well as a biker?
Yes.
Bicyclist?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, let's make sure we understand this is spandex, 5-speed or 10-speed, not Harley Davidson.
Now, you would agree that during your different interviews with the police, they treated you very kindly, didn't they?
They were respectful, yes.
Okay. They offered you water, they offered you snacks multiple times per interview, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And even one detective to your understanding, made a comment to you about it's been a pleasure speaking with you. And this was why you was in Kalamazoo, correct?
I don't recall that, but it's possible.
Okay. Now,
I'm
on
not the most
Saturday,
coordinated, so 10-speed was the last speed I went to.
You had consumed some alcohol, correct? Or you told the officers you consumed some alcohol. On Saturday, October the 21st. The 22nd, I'm sorry, 22nd. Which would have been Sunday, I believe. I'm sorry, which would have been Sunday. Did you indicate that you left synagogue, you came home to watch the football game, Penn State versus, I'm not sure who they were playing. Does this ring a bell?
I'm confused about which day you're talking about.
The day Penn State was playing, which they're college, so I would assume that.
I went to synagogue on Friday,
On Friday, okay.
and yeah, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to restate the.
Hey, lawyer, your Christianity is showing. No, his synagogue would be on Friday.
question.
Okay. Did you go to synagogue the day that you found out that Samantha had died, which would have been the next day, which would have been October the 21st?
No.
Okay, you did not?
No.
Okay.
No,
So which days did you
synagogue's
go
on
to
Friday.
synagogue between October the 20th
Jesus.
to October 22nd?
I went so I went that Friday night, and then I did go Saturday afterwards. After to meet with friends.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
So you did go that Saturday.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And after you left some synagogue on that Saturday, you went back home and you watched the football game, Penn State, correct?
No, that happened before. That was a noon game.
Oh, that was a noon game? Okay. But after you left synagogue, you eventually went home and you had some alcohol, correct?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Okay.
To be honest, y'all, the last time I was on a bike, I didn't remember how many speeds they had, so 5 was the first number that came to my head. See, when you have no ego, it's easy to admit you're wrong about stuff. Oh, he has a probably. Maybe I need to start riding a bike more often, but I got hurt walking, so I don't know that adding any wheels or any added speed would be my best friend right now.
So you're saying, sir, that did you consume alcohol while you were watching the sports game?
The football game
Yeah.
in the afternoon.
at any time during that day?
So I had alcohol after I went home from synagogue later that night, but not during the day. No.
You did? Okay. So you never told the detectives that you had alcohol while watching the game?
Good to see you here, James Forbes. Or Forbes.
And
I've never seen this.
I don't recall having had alcohol during the game. If I did, I had a beer, but I don't recall that.
okay. And had you went through a spell of consuming alcohol around that particular time, or maybe a 2-week span around that particular time frame of consuming alcohol?
Okay,
No, I didn't
first of all,
consume
Zima
alcohol.
doesn't count.
Do you frequently consume alcohol then?
On occasion, I have 1 to 2 drinks.
Okay. And didn't you tell the officer in Kalamazoo that you do not drink because it will react with your antidepressant medicine and you will have basically an adverse reaction? You said that, didn't you?
I may have said that I had 1 beer that night.
No. My question is, when you and the officer were sitting at the table just having small talk, you told the officer that in fact you cannot drink because you're taking antidepressants, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You never told the officer that I occasionally have a beer or two, correct? You didn't say that.
That's correct.
I still contend that this man drinks Zima, and that doesn't count.
Thank you. No further questions.
Well, I'm glad we ended on the strong Zima question.
Saturday night, first, did Michigan and Michigan State play that day?
Saturday night, the 21st.
21st October.
I have no recollection. I wasn't paying attention to football at that point.
Okay, did you watch, did you watch more football when you got back from synagogue that particular night? On Saturday, after learning of Samantha's death?
Again, I may have. I don't. If anything, I was trying to take my mind off the events of the day. I'm sorry, I don't really recall.
There were some questions about your fear of losing your job when you were in Kalamazoo. Do you remember those questions?
Yes.
And were you afraid of losing your job at that time?
Yes,
And why were you afraid of losing your job?
because I was at the police station and being arrested doesn't look good for a job.
Did you want your employer to know that you were at the police station?
No.
Why not?
Again, it's.
Have you met those people at McDonald's? They suck.
There were some questions about.
Smile? Yes, good morning, Rob. Yeah, oh, it's a good
What
morning.
the hell?
Yeah, and finally, Portugal is coming.
Oh, okay. So I guess we decided to break for Olympic stuff. And now we're back to the trial, but that scared me.
Okay, and when you had that understanding of why you were there, was that a comfortable or uncomfortable position for you?
It was uncomfortable.
And why was that?
Because I had just gone through a panic attack. I really called 911 to seek medical attention because I was feeling totally out of normal. Again, my heart rate was much higher than usual. I had these thoughts that I couldn't control, and so I was really seeking medical attention at that point.
Now, the things that you said in the 911 call and on the body camera footage, both of which have been admitted as exhibits 27 and 28 respectively, are the things that you said about Samantha, are they true?
The things that I said about what I could have done, no.
Correct, yeah.
No, that is not true.
When you said
Oh
those
my gosh,
things,
lawyers.
was it your intent to mislead anybody or lie?
No, I was not trying to mislead anyone. I couldn't control my thoughts at that point and was just very concerned about what was going through my head.
There were some questions about the sort of treatment that you've received from mental health care professionals, is that right? And approximately during the relevant time, how many mental health care professionals have you consulted with?
So at that point, I had a psychologist and a psychiatrist, and since then I've spoken with 2 additional psychiatrists who confirmed that this medication causes delusions.
And again, when was it that you started taking this specific medication, Auvelity?
I started a few days before, but I had doubled the dosage the day before.
And was that under the direction of a mental health care professional?
Yes, it was.
And when did you stop taking that medication?
I stopped it that night. I immediately stopped taking that medication once I had those side effects.
That's a dumb question. Right after I confessed to a crime I didn't remember, that's when I stopped that. Also, this trial stream was not brought to you by Auvelity.
Okay, and after this period of time where you had these thoughts about feeling responsible for Samantha's death, have you had those thoughts at all since then?
No.
Are you in any way responsible for Samantha Wool's death?
No.
And you met with your attorney in advance to testifying today?
That's correct.
Have you also met with myself and Mr. DeGrazia?
We did have a meeting, yes.
Okay. In any of the meetings with either myself or Mr. DeGrazia or your attorney, has anyone directed you to say something specific on the witness stand today?
No.
What was the purpose of you meeting with your attorney before testifying today? Again, I'm not trying to get into attorney-client confidences or anything like that, but what was the overall purpose of you meeting with an attorney before testifying?
So I have never testified before. This is a very difficult subject. It's talking about my mental health and the trauma that I went through, and so it was much more like a coach to help me figure out how to speak and communicate clearly about what I went through and what went on.
And are the answers that you've given today, are those your own answers or are those your attorney's answers?
Those are my answers.
And you understand that according to the order of use immunity, that your testimony has to be truthful for you to be entitled to use immunity?
Yes.
Has there been anything you've said today, to your knowledge, that is not true?
I have spoken the truth today.
Thank you, sir.
Well, and I was follow up and yesterday, but your testimony started yesterday.
I appreciate that, Kathy, I forgot.
Okay.
And yeah, and sir, same questions. Your testimony started yesterday, is that correct?
Yes.
During your testimony yesterday, was there anything that you said that was not truthful?
No, I've been truthful both yesterday and today.
Okay, thank you.
Speaking of, or thinking about your job, and being in the police station, Kalamazoo, you said your understanding of being there was that you had a reaction to your medicine. That was your understanding of why you were there?
My understanding was that I had had a reaction to this medication and it had caused me to convince myself that I had something to do with Sam's death. And that was why I was brought in. It was not my intent when I called 911 to end up in a police station.
But you did understand what you said. You understood that the police came
Yes,
and they arrested you,
yes,
and you understood where you were, correct?
yes,
You didn't have any delusion. You didn't think you were in a zoo, did you?
No.
You didn't think you were at home, did you?
No.
You knew exactly where you were, correct?
yes,
You knew exactly who you were speaking with, and they were police officers, correct?
yes,
You didn't think you were talking to your attorney, correct?
correct,
You didn't think you were talking to your mom, correct?
correct,
Okay. You were very lucid on where you were and with whom, correct?
yes.
Now, you indicated that your heart rate was abnormal.
Abnormal.
What is your normal heart rate? If you know, without looking, please, sir,
Okay,
do you know what your normal heart rate is? Yes or no?
I know it's not 150. I have an app that can tell me when your typical heart rate is if
No,
you let me
I'm
access that.
asking, sir, if you know off the top of your head what your own heart rate is, that is normal. If you
It's
know,
typically 60 to 70
60 to 70 what?
beats per minute.
Okay. Are you guessing?
It varies.
It varies. Okay.
Use the
And it
word
goes up
typically.
depending on if you're doing some substances like smoking marijuana.
Oh, and this is what I am. Where did the picture go? I swear I should not be allowed. Ah. This is what it's going to look like eventually, obviously, Sailor Moon. But for Sarah Boone, we'll have either Freddie Mercury or Star Wars, depending on if I can finish this up before Sarah Boone gets started. So it will be a non-Sailor Moon. But right now it's Sailor Moon because y'all know me. Mass says, if I woke up tomorrow and found out I'd unalived someone in a bender, I don't think my first thought would be to come clean to the police. Yeah. Again, there are levels of delusion. There are levels. He was not in a full mental break. This lawyer is suffering for someone who's supposed to understand the legal sense of insanity. He is wanting this man to have performatively acted crazy. And there is a large gulf between I think I might have done something versus I totally unalived her and I'm smarter than all of you. But let's hope that this is.
It would change, correct?
I don't know if smoking marijuana how it changes your heart rate.
But you stated you have an app, correct? You stated you have an app, correct? Yes or no?
I do have it, yes.
Have you ever tested your heart rate after smoking marijuana?
The app I was referring to is a blood donation app where they test your heart rate and blood pressure when you're donating blood. So I've never smoked marijuana.
Okay, so to be clear, you don't have like maybe a.
Now, I am not saying for science. In fact, I am telling you all not to for science. Have an edible and then check your Garmin or Fitbit. But I'm sure someone in the history of some time has done that, and I'm sure this dude was like, "It's an app for when I donate blood." I can't. This is the most. You know what? No, YouTube. I demand we make the odd couple of these two buying houses and going through different situations. I would laugh my ever living boobs off because these two are not speaking in even the same orbit of the same realm of the galaxy. It is amazing.
A body worn watch or something that would, I I guess, continuously measure your heart rate, correct?
No.
So you're just going by what your heart rate is at the point in time you go to donate blood.
That's correct.
And you get anxious at
Hello,
those times, right?
Dan Davis.
Sometimes you get anxious.
Yes,
So you don't know what your heart rate would be at one of these times where you're feeling anxious, correct?
that's correct.
Now, have you ever convinced yourself of something that you felt wasn't true?
No, I don't believe so.
In regards to the question of whether somebody directed you, indicated nobody directed you on what to say, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, but you did agree during cross-examination there were suggestions presented to you for what to say, correct?
There was assistance, yes.
Again, what he was probably given was a sort of mock trial like they did with Rittenhouse, I'm sure, like you did with your defendant. Now, they probably wanted him to get used to some aggressive a-hole, basically saying, you done did it, and this is what's going to happen. Now, if you already have someone with a tenuous grasp on their mental health, this would be a sort of desensitization. So while he did sort of clam up when being asked interrogatory questions and maybe more aggressive questions, he didn't fully become frozen. So that might be him after multiple times of sitting there and saying, you are going to be questioned aggressively. This is how you need to control yourself. This is how you need to answer these questions. You cannot block up. You cannot lock up. You have to answer. So did his attorney probably do that? Yes. Did his attorney probably tell him to sit there, repeat the question in your head, and if you are confused about anything during cross or, direct testimony, have the lawyer repeat it to you?
Suggestions.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Thank you for the question.
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Questions from the jury? Right now, counsel approach.
Now, since this is in Michigan, the jury has the option to ask questions of the witnesses. So I'm guessing with these questions, we will be able to kind of get the pulse of what the jury is thinking as far as, do they believe this witness? Do they think that this witness is in fact the real suspect? Or if he came off as believable. So what happens is that the jury will submit their questions one by one. The judge will look at the question, determine whether it is something that can be asked of this witness. And then the attorneys will both say, yes, I think that's a pertinent question, or no, I don't think that's a pertinent question. And then they kind of go from there. If you haven't seen a trial where jurors are allowed to ask questions, it is a thing in not only Michigan, I believe Wisconsin, some do, and Indiana juries are allowed to ask questions of the witnesses, independent of what either of the attorneys have asked. Yeah, Mass, that's the problem. Again, both of the suspects that were proffered in this case from the ex boyfriend and Michael Jackson, there is not a lot of linking evidence that can tell you, okay, well, we can obviously put him at the scene of the crime and link him to the apartment, which we can link Michael Jackson Blanos to the area around the crime. And then we do see him wearing a white or a dark North Face jacket or North Face style jacket leaving the area. but there has not, the murder weapon has not been definitively identified at any time, and there really is not any link to either of these men as far as evidence. That, again, I am not sure why this case was brought when we had such a flimsy case, and why, maybe more prudent minds didn't think we need an actual airtight case before we go and try to, you know, arraign and indict someone. So there were a lot of issues in this case. And unfortunately, I think that Samantha Woll, if they do find a person that they can definitively link, because you have Mr. Michael Jackson Blanos, who's on the screen right now, acquitted, or jurors were not able to agree that he had any involvement in this case. And you have the ex-boyfriend, who the state is somewhat tacitly endorsing as innocent by this immunity deal. When they find someone that they can concretely link, you have two big hurdles of, reasonable doubt, in that the state saw fit to bring charges against Michael Jackson Blanos, and that, they also incarcerated the ex-boyfriend for a couple of days. And that's the sad thing. Had they taken their time and done a good investigation, had a good lead attorney or a good lead detective on this, then, if it had taken a year or longer to build a solid case, that would have been preferable to rushing with a paper thin case. And now, if you find someone, it's going to be the same thing with the Richard Allen case or the Delphi case. And now the Karen Reed case. Again, should they find concrete evidence that, let's say, Chloe did it? We found Chloe, she confessed, the dog did it, we all knew it. Because they have gone after Karen Reed with such a fervor, that means that, again, they had reasonable doubt that it was Chloe because they didn't go after Chloe with such fervor. Do the investigations right the first time, police. I hate to be the voice of reason. It is not my general comfy zone, dang it. I know.
Have you ever been diagnosed or treated for anything other than depression? Psychologically.
So anxiety as well.
Were you treated by a psychiatrist after being released by the police for your panic attack / delusional thoughts? Was it inpatient or outpatient?
It was outpatient, and yes, I was.
And did the medication side effects happen immediately after doubling the dosage on November 7th, 2023?
No, they did not. So I had doubled the dosage the previous day, and again, I took my second dose around 5:30, 6 o'clock that day, and the onset of abnormal symptoms, it came on around 7 or 8 o'clock, I believe.
So, just to get the timing right, you took a double dose on the 7th,
Yes.
and then you took that same dose, the double dose, on the 8th at about 6 o'clock.
So the sixth and the seventh. So the incident happened on the.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you started on the sixth,
That's correct.
and then, that's right, so the seventh.
Yes.
Oh, no.
I don't
so
know.
You have double dose on the sixth.
It's an
so
interesting
you need
thought.
as well, or?
Yes.
Okay, and then the next evening, the seventh, you took it again at
Yes.
6 or 7,
Yes.
and then it set in an hour later.
Yes, that's when the abnormal thoughts started occurring.
Okay, I just want to get the time. Any further questions based on this?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
When you took your double dose on the 6th, did you smoke marijuana with that double dose?
No.
You typically smoke marijuana when you use your medication.
For the previous medication, I had found no issues. For this medication, I specifically asked my psychiatrist if it was okay, because I was taking a new med, if I could smoke marijuana, and she said it was okay. And in this case, there may have been an interaction.
Did you have any alcohol on any dosage on the 6th or the 7th?
I had one beer on the 7th, yes, for dinner.
It was like IPA.
Yes.
Were you concerned after being released from the Kalamazoo Police Exploratory Detention Center that you may want to go into inpatient, since this, in your mind, quote unquote delusion was greater than any other delusion you've ever had?
Okay. Yeah. Now, generally, what I can say is that most people don't want to be inpatient, and your insurance is not going to cover you. Typically, if you just say, I would like to go inpatient, generally your psychiatrist is the one who makes those choices, or an intake facilitator. So if you were to say have made it to the ER and they said, okay, this is an inpatient hold, there are criteria that you have to meet in order to necessitate, both insurance wise and medical wise, going inpatient. It's not something you can just, I mean, well, you can, as always, sign yourself in for a 72-hour hold. Your insurance may not cover that. And my guess is this guy would like to have prior authorization for everything. So, no, you can't just put yourself inpatient.
Yes, that's why I worked with psychiatrists to try and figure out and treat, get treatment for what was going on.
Did you personally feel that you should be an inpatient for the quote unquote severity of this situation?
Yeah. So I stopped the medication, and several days later, the symptoms subsided. So I felt like it was okay not to go to inpatient, but it was something that I discussed with my psychologist and my psychiatrist.
You discussed that with your family also?
Yes.
Anybody?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Any further questions from the jury? Okay, thank you. You may step down.
Okay. Now,
No, Your Honor.
I will be stopping the trial here today. Now, housekeeping wise, I do have my own wonderful case of jury duty on the 11th. So on Wednesday, I am not sure if I will be streaming at all, and we can only imagine this will be a sad day in American justice if I'm chosen for jury duty. I am not sure what I'm able to post, if I can even do, my newsy news while serving on a jury, which, again, I doubt that I will be picked as soon as they realize I cover court cases and make fun of lawyers as a job. I'm not seeing myself get picked for jury duty. Again, mostly because of my job and understanding, only to the point of being dangerous, that I will ask. Good to know. I had already planned not to, but I will continue to plan not to. So I am not quite sure. I might just be missing in action for a couple days, but my plan is to weekdays, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we will do court and cross. Tuesday and Thursday, until Sarah Boone starts, we will be doing Sarah Boone shenanigans, Reddit stuff, fun things on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Well, actually, this evening for Nightly Newsy News, but I will see you all this evening and then tomorrow morning, and we will do some more Sarah Boone inmate notes, different legal filings, and all things, something about Sarah Boone. There's something about Sarah and Samsonite. But I hope to see you guys there. I am going to actually let you guys free a little early, so because I have to run and get stuff to either make a peach cobbler or a pineapple upside down cake for Mr. Mo's birthday, and maybe find him a steak or a pork chop or something. Oh, no, no. As sad as this sounds, that poor little boy, and I hope that his parents are chucked directly into the sun, allegedly in Minecraft. Uh, I know we were all hoping that there'd be a different outcome on that case, but I think unfortunately we all kind of saw the writing on the wall. And hopefully now we can get justice for Elijah, perhaps, because his parent or his mom certainly didn't care what was going on there. Annie Hoozle, thank you all for joining me. I will try to add my current tabletop frame. It is expensive, but this is probably the best tabletop frame I found for cross stitching, and it's about $40 on Amazon. And a couple of other different supplies that I use to try to get this more into the craft space. But don't forget, if you finish a project and want to upload video or pictures, we can do a crafting and court Hall of Fame of all of our fun stuff that we've finished. And I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for joining. Please like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget, not only for myself, but for other creators, YouTube has been on an unsubscribe spree with a lot of people. So if you hadn't heard from your favorite creator in a while, make sure that you are still subscribed to them, because YouTube has been making sure that you're not. So I would just recommend doing that. I've had to resubscribe to a bunch of my channels that I watch all the time. So make sure that you are not in the same boat. And I will see you guys in this evening. Bye, guys.